In Activity 6, Temperature Changes, students review and graph the temperature data from the class chart. Using the graph data, students first visualize general trends in temperatures and then discuss possible reasons for differences between morning and afternoon temperatures. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 6, envelopes from Activity 5, blue adhesive dots, red adhesive dots, air temperature chart, and weather data chart from Activity 5. You will also need to provide blue markers or crayons and red markers or crayons. To prepare for the activity, make a copy of Activity Sheet 6 for each student. On the air temperature graph, temperatures are indicated in degrees Celsius on the vertical axis. The scale should span the range of temperatures recorded by the class. If recorded temperatures fall out of this range, extend the grid with a piece of chart paper. Hang the graph at students' eye level near the class weather data chart. To begin the activity, ask students, who knows what a graph is? Explain that a graph is a diagram that makes the visual interpretation of data easier. Lead the students to conclude that graphing helps us see patterns in information, and explain that each piece of information on the class weather data chart will be a piece of information on the graph. Each temperature entry on the chart has a temperature, units, a date, and will be either in the morning or afternoon. Next, point to the dates on the chart and ask students, where on our air temperature graph should we write the dates when we took these temperature readings? Ask for volunteers to write the dates from the class weather data chart across the top of the air temperature graph. Then, show the students the colored dots and inform students that they will use the different colors to indicate the time of the day of the readings. Make sure to use the blue dots for morning temperatures and the red dots for afternoon temperatures. Next, ask students, what was the first temperature reading we took? Guide students to understand that the first temperature reading can be found on the chart. Write the temperature and units of the first reading on the board. Ask students, was the first temperature reading taken in the morning or the afternoon? What color dot should we use? The time of day can be located on the chart. Write the correct time of day and color for the first reading on the board. Then ask students, what was the first date we recorded the temperature? The first date can also be found on the chart. Write the date of the first reading on the board. Next, have a volunteer read aloud all the data from the board and then come up and put a dot on the appropriate place on the grid. Review the data and ask the students to verify that the dot is in the correct place. Repeat steps 3 and 4 until all of the readings have been transferred to the grid. Then, give the students their journal envelopes and a copy of Activity Sheet 6 along with a set of blue and red markers or crayons. Have the students graph their own temperature measurements on the activity sheet. From their class air temperature graph, instruct the students to copy the range of temperatures and the dates onto the graph, and for each date, have them draw colored dots to indicate the measured temperatures. Use blue for morning temperatures and red for afternoon temperatures. Draw the dot where the date line crosses the temperature line. Next, instruct the class to create a double line graph by drawing straight lines between successive dots of each color. Have the students do the same on their activity sheets. Using a blue marker or crayon, draw a straight line between the first 2 blue dots, and then to the next blue dot, and so on, until all the blue dots are connected. Repeat this step, this time using a red marker or crayon to connect the red dots. Explain that the lines represent the change in temperature. Ask students, do the 2 lines have similar shapes? Students should note that the lines will probably have similar shapes. Discuss temperature changes by asking questions such as, what was the biggest change in temperature from one morning to the same afternoon? What was the smallest? What was the biggest change in temperature from one morning to the next and one afternoon to the next? Which changes are greater, the temperature changes between the morning and afternoon, or the temperature changes from day to day at the same time of day? All of these answers will depend on the data received. Finally, to summarize, ask students, what can we say about the morning temperatures as compared to the afternoon temperatures? The students should recognize that the morning temperatures are usually lower. Encourage the students to figure why this might be. Some of the students might suggest that the sun warms the earth as the day goes on, up to a point, or that the nighttime cold lingers into the morning. To conclude the activity, have the students place their completed activity sheets in their journal envelopes. Collect the envelopes and return them to their storage place. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.